Hello everyone. This video is on consciousness, and somebody asked me about how to increase consciousness. And that was an interesting thing to say, because when we take a body, there can appear to be a suppression in consciousness because of being in a body can make us believe that it's kind of squished. We never lose consciousness. Consciousness is all that there is, and everything is made out of consciousness. Consciousness kind of is the fundamental ingredient of everything, of this, of my snake, of you, of me, of chairs in the room, stars. Everything's consciousness. You can't really lose it. There can be a perception that it's lost due to stress. So I would probably reframe that and say, how can there be a false perception that consciousness is suppressed temporarily? And so there are things that do actually give us the perception that consciousness is being suppressed. And stress is definitely one of those things. And so anything we take in that sensitizes the nervous system, that stresses us out, if we're very sensitive, can feel like there is a suppression going on. And so at a certain point on our path, we're very mindful about what we take in through every single sense. So we don't overload our body with things that it needs to dissolve. That changes over time when we become more firmly established in a permanent meditative state in activity, which sounds pretty heavy hitting, but it's subtle. It's not like you're just like, gone, 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 gone. There's a lot of false perceptions around what actually that looks like in human beings. It creeps up on people, so they don't really know it's happened. It's just very subtle, so we don't have to be frightened that, oh my God, it's going to be really freaky. But at a certain level, it's very wise to take care of what we're taking in through the senses. So, what are we listening to? What are we eating? What are we watching on TV? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? Are these things nourishing? Are they calming to the nervous system? And obviously, there's going to be some things that we can't control because life's stressful. But if we're making an actual choice, if we want to watch a load of horror movies, it can be fun for a little while. But if we continue down that path, we'll probably not sleep very well, and that's going to stress us out. And then there'll be streams of negative paranoid thinking that, as they exit, give us the perception that our consciousness is being suppressed, but actually those negative thoughts are consciousness too. But I've noticed that everybody generally who goes on a spiritual journey wants to have an easier time of it, wants to have some calm, wants to settle the nervous system. And so it's pretty simple. Take care of yourself, use common sense, be around happy people. Happy people who don't have a problem with other people. So if you're around people and they have a problem with people, then it's contagious because then you have problems with people. And people whose consciousness is not suppressed don't have problems with people. If people have problems with people, It's a sign of stress exiting the nervous system, of childhood wounding, of ignorance of the interconnection of all beings. And we can have huge compassion for that. And I'm not saying that we won't be free of falling into that state where we judge other people and shame other people, or think we're better than other people, or think the world is terrible and everyone's terrible. We can all fall into that state when we're stressed out, when we're overwhelmed, and living life can be extremely stressful and overwhelming, especially with all the change that goes on within it. And so nobody is better than anyone else. Maybe one day we will be stressing out and judging people, and then the next day we won't, but somebody else will. And so if we can all kind of help hold space for one another on our spiritual paths without getting angry with one another or thinking we're better than one another, that will make living smoother for everyone. And I really, really hope that we can get to a point where we can hold space for everything that occurs in the relative world without getting so dysregulated about it. And so, whatever's happening in the relative world within consciousness, it's okay. Whatever's happening with you inside you right now, inside your emotions, or whatever's going through your head, or whatever situations in your life, it's okay. Whatever's going on with your neighbor, whatever emotions they have, whatever situations happening in their life, it's okay. Whatever's going on outside world in politics or at your work, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's going to change. Everything changes in time. Everything's given to us so that we can learn more about ourselves, learn more about the consciousness behind everything. And there is an intelligence within the consciousness. And so the personality, the psychology might not understand why. Why is this happening? I need to expand in awareness. I'm not where I need to be. How do I get to this place? There's a storyline associated to that at some point we even move beyond that. Meditation is an amazing tool providing you transcend when you meditate. We throw around the word meditation. You can meditate now apparently doing anything. I'm doing a walking meditation, I'm doing a driving meditation, I'm doing a sex meditation, this could be a meditation. And so I'm not saying that it couldn't be, but in order for it to be a meditation, there would have to be some transcendence going on. And unless you've really experienced transcendence or you're sensitive to it, you might not know whether it's a meditation or not. And that's okay. And I've done videos on this about waking, dreaming, sleeping, transcendental consciousness and beyond. It's a very different state, different functioning, full brainwave coherence. So when somebody's transcended, there's full brainwave coherence. The brain functions differently. The nervous system functions differently. The cortisol levels drop. There is a sensation of being out of the body while in the body that then integrates. Once the physiology gets used to transcending, it holds the transcendence in activity, and then there's full brainwave coherence in activity. So you can actually be in activity while in a meditative state. This dissolves tons of stress and enables for a rapid expansion or movement of the consciousness, and an understanding that consciousness is in everything and you are everything else that's outside of yourself. It's not an intellectual process. It's something that spontaneously arises as a byproduct of transcending. So let's move away from saying meditation and say transcendence, because moving beyond the physical world, connecting to a stillness that's beyond the physical world, bringing the stillness back into the physical world, changes the way you perceive the world. I don't want to get all verbose with it, but anything that can connect you to stillness will enable that massive expansion in consciousness. And the massive expansion in consciousness will make life in the relative world manageable, because it's so hard to exist with a feeling of being separate to everything else, or fighting everything else, or getting irritated with everything else, because there isn't anything else. It's all you at one level. So understanding that we're so interconnected to everything else will enable us to move around in the kingdom and not get so irritated. Because if we're just in waking, dreaming, sleeping, waking, dreaming, sleeping, waking, dreaming, sleeping, waking, dreaming, sleeping, there's going to be a huge amount of ignorance, because there's going to be a separation, there's going to be judgment, there's going to be misunderstanding, and we'll have difficulty with relationships. We'll have difficulty with the relationship with ourselves. We'll have difficulty with relationships with other people and the world and politicians and everything else, because the heart space isn't going to be fully open, and we will have the capacity to act in a very selfish way. And so what transcendence does, and what that expansion in consciousness does, is it makes it very difficult for us to hurt other people, because you hurt yourself. So I'll do more videos on this. Florence, do you want to say goodbye? You enjoyed today's video? She's been so good and chilled out.